Weil wir da halt nicht im selben sind, das ist das Thema. Ich habe die Geschichte des Horror in Anthologien, den Clown-Spielen.
Warte.
Also ich habe 3 Sachen habe ich freigeschaltet.
Genau, die Geschichte des Horrors in Anthologien, der Clown-Spielen und die Entwicklung des Kurators.
Wollen wir mal das obere kurz anklicken oder keine Ahnung?
Können wir machen, ja?
Machen wir 3, 2, 1, go.
Jo.
4, 3, 2, 1.
The horror anthology is much loved and has an established pedigree across all forms of entertainment. From Twice Told Tales by Nathaniel Hawthorne in 1837, Clive Barker's Books of Blood in the mid-80s, and with the likes of Blackwood, Poe and Lovecraft in between, short story horror
Lovecraft, ja.
has long been a popular form.
Natürlich auch bekannt. Ich habe mir letztens ein Hörbuch gegeben von Bram Stoker, Dracula. Super cool. Steinalt, aber super cool.
Previously published stories from The Token, an annual illustrated gift book published in Boston. The author of Twice Told Tales, Nathaniel Hawthorne,
hier Salem.
was born on July the 4th, 1804, in Salem, Massachusetts. His great-great-grandfather was John Haythorne, a Puritan, and one of the judges who presided at the Salem witch trials of 1692. In 1842, Edgar Allan Poe reviewed Twice Told Tales for Graham's magazine, concluding that Hawthorne was a man of indisputable genius. By this time, Poe, also from the state of Massachusetts, had already written his own collection of short stories for publication. This collection,
die Abenteuer des Arthur Pym zum Beispiel,
grotesque and arabesque, was published in 2 volumes in 1839. The horror anthology had become a recognized format, and after also writing many short stories for newspapers and magazines,
cool gemacht, oder?
Olgen and Blackwood's first publication, The Empty House and Other Ghost Stories, was released in 1906. Blackwood went on to write such classics as The Willows and The Wendigo, which was first published in another anthology, The Lost Valley and Other Stories, in 1910. Fast forward 74 years to 1984 and the first publication of Books of Blood. Each book was a collection of horror stories written by British.
Gibt's auch ein cooles Spiel von Clive Barker's Jericho.
First of which catapulted
Das glaube ich von 2000, um die 2000 rum, 6, 7, keine Ahnung.
Proclaiming him the
Oh ja, Stephen King natürlich auch klasse. Shining, Justine und viele mehr.
Successfully for film, including Rawhead Rex and The Midnight Meat Train.
Midnight Meat Train.
Barker adapted The Yattering Jack in 1986 for use in George A. Romero's anthology TV series Tales from the Dark Side.
I take it you will remain.
Short-form storytelling arrived on a new medium in 1938 when the radio show The Mercury Theatre on Air broadcast an adaptation of Dracula.
I have never seen Count Dracula by day. At sunrise, and the first cock crow is gone.
The series was the creation of Orson Welles and John Houseman and became most famous for its broadcast of War of the Worlds, which terrified listeners, believing that the alien invasion was a reality.
Davon habe ich gehört.
From 1942, the radio drama series Suspense broadcast more than 90 short plays on CBS Radio for 20 years.
Ich muss gerade das Lächerliche ziehen, aber Geschichten aus der Gruft. War auch Weltklasse, wenn auch übertrieben. Ich fand's auch super.
But by the late 50s, this became a regular occurrence, including material such as H.P. Lovecraft's The Dunwich Horror.
Gut, der H.P. Lovecraft ist ja unter anderem, glaube ich, auch so für die Alien und sowas in der Richtung verantwortlich. Zumindest ist angehaucht von ihm. Wie heißt das Viech, der,
1947
Alien hat einen Namen.
Quiet Please, a radio horror and fantasy series created by
Fällt mir gerade nicht ein.
Cooper had been a writer for Orson Welles' Campbell Playhouse, which had succeeded the Mercury Theatre on Air.
Which is written and directed by Willis Cooper and features Ernest Chappell.
Xenomorph, genau.
Camera Obscura.
The play's scripts often broke the fourth wall by speaking directly to the listener, a technique much adopted in later horror anthologies. In his book, Terror on the Air, Horror Radio in America, Richard J. Hand wrote that Cooper had enjoyed creating roles for the audience, including implicating them in the action of the story itself, indicating a clear desire to create horror as interactive entertainment more than 70 years ago. The show ran for 2 years. Forward 50 more years in radio, and in October 2010, we see the debut of Larry Fessenden and Glenn McQuaid's radio show, Tales from Beyond the Pale. Successful genre filmmakers in their respective rights, the two began producing episodes under Fessenden's studio, Glass Eye Pix, influenced by the works of Boris Karloff, Peter Lorre, and Orson Welles. Fessenden would later partner with the show's sound designer, Graham Resnick, to write the scripts for Supermassive Games' critically acclaimed horror debut
Until Dawn. Habe ich damals auch nur geguckt, nicht selber gespielt.
Ich hab's gespielt.
Tja, davon sind 2 nicht zurückgekommen.
Ja, die habe ich gesehen.
Die, oha, was?
Ja.
Die sah bei mir aber normal aus, als ich die jedes Mal gesehen habe.
Nee, bei mir hat sie sich dann in Zombie verwandelt.
Oh, fies. Okay, krass, das ist aber gemein.
Created and presented by Rod Serling, The Twilight Zone ran for 5 seasons on CBS from 1959 to 1964. Each show was a standalone story featuring characters faced by surreal and often disturbing events. Serling's introductions and conclusions to each show summarized the story and provided some justification for the events and
das die Wahrheit?
the moral of the story. In
Muss enttäuschen, wir haben das leider nur
Rolling
erfunden.
Stone placed The Twilight Zone at number 7 in its list of the greatest shows of all time. The 1972 film
Guck mal, Geschichten
Tales
aus der
from the
Gruft.
Crypt is
Wie geil
highly
ist das denn?
regarded by fans of the genre. Starring Peter Cushing and Joan Collins and featuring Ralph Richardson as the Crypt Keeper.
Ja, Mann, der
It's an
Crypt Keeper.
Ja.
based
Stabiler
on
Typ.
stories from EC Comics and one of several Amicus horror anthologies
Ja, Mann.
produced in that
Auch,
decade.
ich habe aber eher auf den
And in
Zeichentrick gedacht.
1989, HBO launched
Ja, da
a
ist
horror
er.
anthology series under the same name, also based on
Geschichten
EC
aus der
Comics,
Gruft?
which ran until July 1996.
Ja, ich fand die Real- und die Zeichentrickserie echt
1982
klasse.
saw the
Die
release
Reale
of
habe ich nur so
Show,
sporadisch
a
mal
dark
geguckt.
comic horror
Aber,
anthology
ja.
film directed by George A. Romero.
Gut, das hat heute natürlich schon, gerade für unsere Generation ist das ja schon eher ein Klassiker.
Ja.
Muss man mal sagen. Das heißt, wir können uns das auch nochmal angucken, ohne direkt einen Brechkrampf zu kriegen. Weil es einfach, ja, man kennt's halt, ne?
Wir sind damit aufgewachsen.
Ja. Es gab noch andere Comics.
Andere kennen das ja gar nicht mehr.
Ja, richtig. John Sinclair oder sowas, der hat auch mal so Horror-Comics gemacht.
As a dark comedy horror anthology film. And then, in 2012,
VHS.
a very different anthology film
VHS.
with a very different tone. VHS.
Boah, die waren so schlecht.
Created by Brad Miska
Ich fand
and Bloody
VHS so
Disgusting,
schlecht.
an
Da hab ich
American
letztens so
horror
viel
genre
gesehen.
website and film production company. VHS
Kassetten.
is a
Ja,
much
nee,
darker
ja, geht aber um
horror
die
anthology.
Ja.
die Serie quasi,
comprising
oder weniger.
6 short horror stories
Gut, genau,
and
aber die
linked
waren
by
echt so
found
seltsam
footage.
teilweise.
2 of the stories, Second Honeymoon and Tuesday the 17th, were written and directed by Ty West and Glenn McQuaid. Other examples in film and TV that are more than worthy of mention are Roger Corman's 1962
Kenn ich
anthology,
nicht.
Tales of Terror, based on 3 Edgar Allan Poe short stories and featuring Peter Lorre, Vincent Price and Basil Rathbone.
Okay, nee.
The 1963 Italian
Sabbath.
horror anthology Black Sabbath,
Geht aber lang, ne?
narrated by
Ja,
Boris Karloff.
aber finde ich gut. Passt ja.
The TV series
Wenn wir schon gefunden haben, wollen wir uns das ja auch angucken und das mit unseren Zuschauern teilen. Das ist doch cool. Dann wird es doch nochmal länger als eine halbe Stunde. Yay!
by Rod Serling and focusing more directly on horror, which ran from 1969 to 1973. Stephen King's Cat's Eye of 1985.
Okay, den kenne ich jetzt zum Beispiel auch nicht.
Hab ich
John
schon gehört.
Carpenter's
Oh,
1993
John Carpenter's
film
Vampires,
Body
auch
Bags,
super
featuring
gut.
the likes of Sam Raimi, Wes Craven and Mark Hamill.
Oh,
And Southbound, a 2016 road trip horror anthology by a number of the collaborators on VHS.
ja, das ist echt cool, ja.
From written fiction through radio, cinema, and TV, and
Videospiele.
now video games, horror anthology is a format that both creators and horror fans enjoy.
Es war auch atmosphärisch echt gut. Muss man jetzt gerade, wenn ich das gerade so sehe mit dem Wasser und sowas, es war schon echt atmosphärisch. Also du hast zwischendrin schon echt Schiss gehabt.
Ja, das stimmt.
Weil,
das war teilweise so bedrückende Atmosphäre.
Okay, das war doch halbwegs cool. Dann würde ich sagen, machen wir das nächste doch auch mit, oder?
Auf jeden Fall, gerne.
Na dann, 3, 2, 1, go. Den Clown spielen. Wenn wir es schon finden, oder?
Ja, auf jeden Fall.
Hey, what's up, man? Conrad.
Good to finally meet you, Conrad. This is Brad, by the way, my little bro.
Hey, man. Want to crack a cold one with me? In the Man of Medan, I play a character named Conrad. And I think initially when we find Conrad, he is a sort of entitled guy, a wealthy American who's on vacation. Where's the old crust bucket skipper anyhow? He's an adventurous guy. He lives off the cuff. He does what he wants.
I'd invite you to make yourselves at home, but
And I think that's kind of fun to play as an actor. He has no censor, he's no filter. So whatever circumstance he's put into, you know exactly how Conrad feels. And so it was kind of fun performance to start out being brash, kind of a silly guy, and just jump in and have fun with that.
So is everybody on board and ready to go?
You're selling, I'm buying.
Yo.
I think Conrad and I have some similarities. I think the sense of humor and the sense of fun are similar between Conrad and I, but I will say that he's a little more aggressive and a little more outlandish than I am. Guys, look, I think we gotta listen to our experienced, beautiful, smart, and beautiful captain here.
Yeah,
if she says we should do things
Connie,
right...
please, I didn't bring you on this trip to get laid.
Wait, what?
I think Conrad's the kind of guy that I would like to be at a party with. You know, I'd like to have a barbecue and drink some beers with him. I don't know that Conrad and I would be best friends. I think we'd butt heads a little bit. Right on, Bradical. I like the cut of your ship. It's jib. Don't ruin it. I think the scenes that I've had the most fun with so far are basically when Conrad is going absolutely crazy. I don't want to give too much away, but there's a scene where these sort of fishermen interact with our divers, with our core crew here, and he's just a bit of an asshole.
Hey, we got damage here, you see this?
We can take care of this, man. It's not a problem. I mean, what do you think? Like $10 cover it? Oh, whoops, my bad. Let's make it 20.
Okay, hab ich nicht gesehen. Oh, okay, das hab ich nicht gesehen.
Hold on, I got this. Well, shoot, you think it's more like 30? I can do 30. All right. You drive a hard bargain, but I'm with you. Here, you know what? Let's just throw in the whole pot. That's yours. You go ahead.
Boah, was für ein
Let's go.
Ja.
Arschloch.
He's just got an attitude. He's brash. These people are messing with his group, and he just kind of lets loose and talks trash to them. And as a guy who would never do that in real life, it's a lot of fun to just kind of let Conrad flow, say whatever he wants.
You are an idiot.
They left, didn't they?
That doesn't make you any less of an idiot. You know, the only thing funnier than seeing you try to buy your way out of that situation is watching you put your money to waste.
Got a smile out of you. Worth every penny. One of the most interesting and one of the key moments that sticks out for me is Conrad's decision in the first act of the game, either to stay with the group or potentially just take off.
Guck mal, den hast du umgebracht, gell?
Storm's on the way.
They came here on a boat. Maybe we can take it.
Yeah.
Das ist
It's a speedboat. I can get out through the window. We gotta break these off first.
Ja, nö.
They'll hear it.
We're gonna break them during the thunder. Good call.
Don't leave us here, okay?
And I think,
Es ist halt
again,
echt
this is what's
sagenhaft
interesting,
laut gerade. Ich
depending
weiß
on
nicht
how
warum.
the player
das finde ich
sculpts the
Da muss ich auch
story.
noch mal gucken, dass wir
Conrad can
irgendwie
become a
den
coward,
Sound ein
essentially,
bisschen
and desert
runterkriegen.
his
Das ist
friends and his
hart laut.
family, or become a hero and stay.
These fuckers need to pay.
So that, to me, is
Oh, ich
very,
hoffe
very
mal, es ist nicht so
interesting.
übertrieben.
Two very human choices, and depending on how our
Ich will jetzt auch
player
nicht Escape
decides
drücken,
to
weil
live with these characters,
du musst
can
wieder
totally change
anfangen.
the outcome of the game. So I think that I enjoy when Conrad makes the heroic choice and gets to stick around. He obviously gets to see more of the adventure, but it's just as possible that he tries to save his own life and takes off.
Whew, wow, that was intense.
That's one way to put it.
You got a better way to put it?
All the characters do have very strong personalities and drives.
Leave, leave, leave!
I think Conrad is the instigator.
Good news, bad news. Bad news? I don't see how this could get any worse.
I think he is the one that really starts the confrontation with the fishermen.
These are kind of maybe the fishermen I pissed off earlier.
Oh, god damn it, Conrad.
Great, just great.
And the good news?
So I think in a lot of ways, Conrad is there to stir the pot and create drama.
I recognize them. How was that good news? I thought you were gonna ask the good news first. You're such an idiot, Jesus.
Do I prefer playing the good guy or the bad guy? I think that there's fun in both. To be honest, I don't get to play the bad guy as much as I get to play the good guy, so I think I relish those moments where I get to play the darker side of things. But I think every good hero has that balance, has that dark side. I think a good guy who only is doing good things is kind of boring.
You just had to piss them off, didn't you?
So I think that there's elements of both sides in both characters. And the best villains are the villains that don't think they're doing anything wrong. Their motivation is not like, oh, I'm a mustache-twirling bad guy. It's like, no, they're doing what's right for them. It just happens to be against what most people think is the right thing to do.
If I can't shoot them as payback, at least I could give them a nice jab with a sharp knife.
Because I'd had some experience working with motion capture and games before, this experience was much easier for me coming right in. I didn't feel like I was jumping into the deep end. What I really like is that all the actors are constantly there all the time. There's the ability to work off each other without the pressure of specific lighting and marks. There's a freedom to that I really, really enjoy. It's been really good. It's been very kind of a free experience as far as like motion capture performance.
You got a funny way of saying thank you, Conrad.
You're a piece of work, Conrad.
I'm not all work, I'm a little play, too. Hashtag wink.
Oh Gott.
Alter. Okay. Ja, das war laut.
Ja. Jetzt ist wieder zu leise. Jetzt ist schön ruhig.
Ja, vorher war es ja auch bei diesen, das war nicht so laut eigentlich, deswegen, das hat mich jetzt gewundert. Dann habe ich noch die Entwicklung des Kurators, hast du auch, oder?
Genau, genau.
Dann würde ich sagen, ziehen wir das auch gleich noch durch mit 3, 2, 1, go. Und gucken wir, was er noch so zu erzählen hat.
Ich finde den Typ cool, ich mag den.
I am the curator.
Er macht auf jeden Fall einen sympathischen Eindruck, sagen wir es mal so.
Stories of love and hate, greed and beauty, life and death. Stories such as this one.
The curator of the Dark Pictures Anthology bridges between the player and the story, being very aware of what they've done, but also much more aware than the player about what's actually going on in the story and what the context is and what the scenario is.
What do you think happened to this guy?
Now, for the first time, for some reason that he himself doesn't even understand, he's been given the opportunity to talk to somebody, and that somebody is the player. As far as he knows, it's always been him that's done this job, and nobody else. And within his library is the story of everybody's life and death. There's even rooms in there that he can't remember ever going in, but he's way too busy to go and explore because there's always another end of life to record and document.
Clothes are so important because they provide an insight into the character. They explain where the character's been, they describe where he's going, they suggest motive. We want the audience to perceive him as having everything completely in control. So all of the ideas of his clothes being tailored to his body, it's really important to us.
Ich finde es auch mal faszinierend, dass das erst irgendwie auf dem Papier erst entsteht.
He did a lot of research into the
auf dem
authenticity
Rechner.
of the materials
Also,
and textures.
Wahnsinn.
He provided us with lots of authentic high-resolution reference. He even gave us material swatches. It was really useful for us because looking at the folds, looking at the visual language of cloth, how do they sit on the character? Is it working from a distance? What's the weight of the material? It gave us a really good platform in order to produce high-quality, realistic materials.
I'm here to record the story you choose to tell.
I think that whenever you're dealing with a realistic human acting performance and facial expressions, that part of it is so key to transferring the emotion that you want to over to the player. Just the definition and detail that you need now is quite challenging.
But there are repercussions.
In terms of cameras, it's quite interesting as well because we've talked a little bit before about how we use skewed angles, upshots, tilts and all that kind of thing to create this feeling of unease and anxiety in the horror moments. And for the curator, it was quite the opposite actually. He's very much in control and he knows everything about the game you're playing and he's very much at home in his own environment. So we took the approach to have a lot more flattering shots, a lot more level shots. You look at him at a natural height. You're never like below or above him and it creates this this veneer of control. It's almost like it's very straightforward and he's just delivering you these statements.
You see, we each make decisions according to our own moral compass.
And of course, he's British. As soon as we'd established that and who he was and what his personality was, our minds went pretty much straight to Pip Torrens to deliver the performance. And Pip's done a brilliant job bringing everything that we wanted in the curator to life on the screen. And pretty much everything that we shot was nailed on first take by Pip.
But the truth of this story isn't fixed. Far from it. A story can change a great deal when told from a different perspective.
One thing that was really important for us with the art direction was to somehow differentiate him from the rest of the game that you're experiencing. And with that, we could make a really interesting contrast, because as the player, you might be experiencing all this horror, all this craziness, and all of a sudden you're taken out to quite a different and quite an unusual place. So that was a really fun thing to play with. We tried to play up on that contrast and really signal to the player that there was a change happening. The curator addresses the player directly. He's quite ambiguous, he's quite mysterious. You're really not sure if he's there to help you or hinder you sometimes. And I wanted that to kind of be reflected in the art.
Naja, er wollte uns ja einmal helfen und die haben unterschiedlich geantwortet.
Where you see him a lot of times. We wanted to get this feel of an almost infinite corridor that's got this maze-like feel. It's not a set-out space that you automatically understand as a viewer when you see it. You're not sure how long it goes on, how many paths there are, how much of a maze this corridor is. So to light that, we wanted to get this feel where there's not markers that tell you this is where you are right now in the corridor, you've been here before, just to increase that feeling of not being fully aware of your surroundings and add to the mystery of the scene.
And then he goes into his repository, which is a huge vault of books and secrets, with his main desk right in the middle. He's got large windows for light, a skylight above that would also let a lot of light in, a mezzanine floor, a marble fireplace, classical, opulent, sophisticated.
The central feature of the repository is the curator's desk. So we researched how that might look and wanted to make it look a big, substantial piece of furniture. We added a lot of scroll work and detail to the front and rear. All of the things that you'd expect, the brass fittings for the drawers. There's quite a lot of detail went into that, and we thought we might be seeing that quite close as well in game. So in the end, it fits nicely within its environment. It references some of the Victorian era detail that you might see on a piece like that.
The creator has the ability to access stories through the pictures on the wall. They're almost portal through to another world. And that all had to fit within our architectural environment. So we looked at very ornate framings, large pictures that would hang on the walls, that would feel correct and not out of place in something of this nature.
Yeah.
We thought about where we could include light sources that would be interesting and would put light in the right areas of the room. The skylight's a really good example. We decided that having this top-down ambience would really bed the scene in nicely and create this nice veneer to it, and then adding another number of interesting light sources that we can use for accents, such as a fireplace, such as the candles, that just are there to give you that extra range of colour if you need it. They're there to draw the eye of the player to what we want to show them.
It's not my place to interfere, but I might be persuaded to offer the occasional hint. Here's one for free.
It's a strange place. Who's this guy? Why is he talking to me? Where am I now? I was just on a ship having some horror happening, and now I'm here. And this guy has the appearance of being there to help you, but he seems like such a strange guy, and the environment he's in is so different. There's a certain ambiguity to it, and we wanted the player to question whether or not he's on their side or whether or not he's kind of playing his own game with them.
Die Frage, ja.
Curator's no ordinary person, and his repository is no ordinary place. And you'll get the chance to see him again in the rest of the Dark Pictures Anthology.
We will meet again. It's inevitable.
Inevitable, ja. Ja, das war doch jetzt auch mal nicht so schlecht. Ein bisschen Background-Infos und so weiter und so fort. Ja klar, wie gesagt, du kannst ja viele Enden haben. Du kannst es ja auch darauf anlegen, dass alle abkratzen und so weiter und so fort. Geheimnisse, Orang Medan, Teil 1, da habe ich leider beides Schloss dran.
Habe ich auch leider noch nicht.
Gut, wir haben aber noch, wenn wir nochmal zurückgehen.
Freigeschaltet durch Sammeln aller 25 Bronzegeheimnisse und aller 50 Geheimnisse.
Sammlungen gibt es nämlich auch noch.
Moment.
Da bin ich jetzt gerade schon mal reingerannt. Das sind die einzelnen Bilder, die man gefunden hat. Das war die eine Folge, das wollte ich letztes Mal schon noch sagen. Ich bin die ganze Zeit da am Rumlaufen und mache irgendwie gar nichts und du Araja hat ein Geheimnis gefunden. Araja hat ein Geheimnis gefunden und da wieder ein Geheimnis gefunden. Ich denke mir so, Alter, und ich renne hier rum und hab Angst. Das ist unglaublich.
Aber die können wir uns nochmal alle angucken, wenn du möchtest.
Können wir machen. Ich habe es halt mal oben links im Kapitel Wrack gefunden. Das komische Boot da. Ich weiß nicht, vielleicht hast du auch andere Bilder. Man kann auch die... Du meinst, du willst die Vorahnung nochmal ansehen, oder was?
Ja, ja genau, weil ich habe nämlich teilweise auch Bilder gefunden, die du mit Sicherheit nicht gesehen hast.
Ja, das ist durchaus richtig. Das ist halt die Frage. Was hast denn du jetzt zum Beispiel bei Geheimnisse? Da habe ich nämlich 2. Oder beziehungsweise, nee, Bilder, warte mal, Bilder. Ich habe jetzt hier zum Beispiel... Wie soll ich das erklären? Wenn du links oben anfängst, habe ich quasi nicht links oben, sondern rechts daneben habe ich gestrandet.
Ja?
Dann habe ich 1 leer und wieder 1 drunter, in den Seilen. Vielleicht hast du das auch nicht.
Da habe ich mehrere.
Und dann habe ich halt wieder in der Mitte das eine habe ich gar nicht und rechts habe ich dann nochmal 4 Bilder.
Ich habe insgesamt, warte mal, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Bilder habe ich insgesamt.
Ich habe 6. Hier, ja, 6 nach Adam Riese.
Ich habe ruhige See, ich habe gestrandet, ich habe nichts wie weg, ganz aus der Nähe, Kiel holen, auf einer See, tickt eine Zeitbombe und in den Seilen. Also in der Mitte habe ich schon ein Bild gefunden, was in Little Hope vorkommt.
Okay. Nö, ich habe halt wirklich gestrandet in den Seilen. Dann habe ich in tiefsten Tiefen, offener See, Gefahr der Tod und tickende Zeitbombe. Ja, die habe ich auch.
Na, da haben wir verschiedene gefunden.
Wie machen wir das dann am blödsten? Dann würde ich sagen, muten wir uns einfach geschwind oder was, aber...
Nee, dann lass, dann bringt's nichts.
Nee, das bringt da nicht wirklich was. In den Seilen, Vorahnung angucken. Und dann gibt's halt noch Geheimnisse.
Genau.
Aber da blicke ich gar nicht durch. Das macht mich komplett fertig. Gold ist das, was man wahrscheinlich gekriegt hat. Oder
du kannst dir auch anklicken, was du hast. Dann kannst du nochmal gucken, was dabei steht.
Ah, okay, warte mal. Da, wo nur die Zahlen drin stehen und kein Bild dahinter ist, das ist quasi gesperrt. Okay,
genau,
verstanden.
Genau. Und da, wo die Bilder drin sind, das kannst du anklicken.
Ja, zum Beispiel das erste, was ich habe, ja gut, da hast du auch wieder andere als ich. Ja. Eine Karte mit der geplanten Route des Schiffs. Das Schiff fuhr von der Republik China nach San Francisco. Das 6. war das erste, was ich gefunden habe.
Das hatte ich auch, ja.
Dann habe ich das 8.
Das habe ich nicht.
Ja, dann geht's weiter. Da habe ich das 10.
Da habe ich die 9 und die 10.
Cool, dann habe ich 11.
Ja.
13.
14.
15.
15 habe ich auch.
Dann 18.
16 habe ich noch.
Ja gut, dann haben wir unterschiedliche Dinger. Ne, das hilft dann halt leider auch nicht wirklich viel. Was man jetzt natürlich machen könnte, okay, aber nee, wenn ich das alles vorlese, da habe ich einen Totalschaden.
Nee, das muss nicht sein. Das liest man ja soweit eigentlich alles im Ding. Also die Sachen selber.
Ja, richtig.
Also von daher, dann gehe ich mal auf zurück.
Ja, dann bin ich jetzt auch wieder im Hauptmenü. Ja. War jetzt auf jeden Fall nicht so schlecht. Wie gesagt, könnte man sich dann nochmal überlegen, ob man das gegen irgendwann später dann nochmal eine Session macht oder sowas, da es ja auch relativ kurzfristig geht.
Ja.
Vielleicht läuft es anders. Besser, schlechter. Wir werden es sehen.
Abwarten.
Genau, ja, nö, ansonsten passt das ja erstmal. Gucken wir, dass wir es mal verarbeiten und dann.
Genau.
Ja.
Dann war das doch schneller rum als gedacht.
Ja, ich habe auch noch ein bisschen mehr gehofft, ehrlich gesagt, aber gut, jetzt fürs nächste Mal weiß man es dann halt. Wenn wir das nochmal machen, gibt es halt 2,5 Stunden Sessions, dann ist die Welt in Ordnung. Und genau, ansonsten würde ich sagen, sind wir durch. Bei mir wie immer halt Dienstags Storyabend auf Twitch, Donnerstags Community-Abend, das heißt, wir dann ein bisschen was zusammen und dann gibt es meist nur einen Stream am Wochenende. Ansage folgt im Normalfall einen Tag vorher per Insta-Story. Bei Araja eher dann sporadisch.
Genau.
Einfach mal ein Follow da lassen, gucken und dann kriegt er ja den Alarm mit, wenn es on ist und dann passt das ja schon.
Und bei Dario gerne reinschauen.
Genau. Und dann, ja, sehen wir uns dann hoffentlich zum nächsten, The Dark Pictures Anthology Spiel, würde ich sagen, nicht?
Genau.
Na gut, dann bis zum nächsten Mal. Haut da rein. Ciao.
Bis zum nächsten Mal. Ciao, ciao.
Tschüss.